She couldn't walk for years, but the farmer who had nothing gave her a miracle asterisk. The morning mist clung to the rolling hills like a gentle embrace as Emma Hartwell's wheelchair bumped along the gravel path. Her father James had insisted on this. Last hope, though Emma felt nothing but resignation. 3 years had passed since the accident that stole her dreams of dancing with the Royal Ballet. 3 years of failed surgeries, broken promises from specialists, and the slow death of hope. This is it? Emma asked, staring at the simple farmhouse ahead. No gleaming medical facility, no state-of-the-art equipment, just weathered wood, climbing, roses, and the sweet scent of lavender drifting on the breeze. Her driver helped her from the car as a man emerged from the barn. Marcus Reed moved with quiet confidence, his dark hair touched with premature silver, hands stained with earth. He wore simple clothes, a linen shirt rolled to his elbows, revealing strong forearms marked by years of physical work. When their eyes met, Emma felt something unexpected, a flutter she hadn't experienced since before the accident. "Miss Hartwell," Marcus said, his voice warm and unhurried. "Welcome to Meadowbrook Farm." "I don't know why I'm here," Emma replied, her walls firmly in place. "My father thinks you can work miracles, but I've heard that before." Marcus crouched beside her wheelchair, bringing himself to her eye level. This close, she could see flecks of gold in his brown eyes, could smell the clean scent of cedar and sunshine on his skin. "Don't promise miracles," he said softly. "I promise presence. Promise we'll listen to what your body is trying to tell us." Something in his tone made her chest tighten. When was the last time someone had spoken to her with such genuine care, without pity or false cheerfulness? "I was a surgeon once," Marcus continued, standing and gesturing toward the gardens that stretched beyond the house. "I believed in fixing things quickly, efficiently. But sometimes healing requires patience, requires remembering that we're more than just broken parts." Emma followed his gaze to where butterflies danced among wildflowers, where the earth seemed alive with possibility. Despite herself, she felt drawn to this man who spoke of healing like poetry. "What happened?" she asked. "Why did you leave surgery?" Pain flickered across Marcus's features. "I lost someone I couldn't save. My wife. Cancer took her despite everything modern medicine could offer. Afterward, I realized I'd forgotten how to truly heal, how to work with nature instead of against it." The honesty in his admission broke through Emma's defenses. Here was someone who understood loss, who had rebuilt himself from ashes. "The cottage guest room is ready for you," Marcus said, his professional mask slipping back into place. "We'll start tomorrow if you're willing. No pressure, no promises, just possibility." That evening, Emma sat by her window watching Marcus tend his evening garden rounds. The way he moved among the plants was almost dance-like, each gesture purposeful yet flowing. When he looked up and caught her watching, he smiled, a slow, warm expression that made her heart skip. She pressed her palm against the cool glass, remembering what it felt like to move with such grace, to feel her body respond to her will. For the first time in 3 years, she allowed herself to wonder, what if? The night air carried the sound of Marcus playing guitar on his porch, a gentle melody that seemed to speak directly to her soul. Emma closed her eyes and let the music wash over her, feeling something long dormant stirring within her chest. Hope, fragile as a butterfly's wing, but there nonetheless. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new possibilities. Tonight she would listen to this stranger's song and remember what it felt like to believe in magic. Even if that magic wore the simple clothes of a farmer who promised nothing but presence. Dawn painted the sky in soft pastels as Emma made her way to the garden, where Marcus waited. He had positioned a comfortable chair among the raised beds, surrounded by the gentle symphony of buzzing bees and rustling leaves. Today, she noticed he wore a soft blue shirt that brought out his eyes. "We're going to start with connection," Marcus explained, kneeling beside her chair. "Your body has been disconnected from joy, from sensation, from hope. We need to rebuild those pathways." He placed a wooden box beside her. Inside lay an assortment of textures: smooth river stones, rough bark, silk flower petals, and warm soil. "Close your eyes," he said, his voice gentle but commanding.
Tell me
what you feel." Emma hesitated, then let her eyes drift shut. Marcus lifted her hand, cradling it in his larger, calloused palms. The contact sent electricity up her arm, a sensation she hadn't expected. Slowly, he guided her fingers to touch the cool stone. Cold, she whispered. Smooth, like ... Like the marble floors of the theater where I used to dance. Good, Marcus murmured, and she could hear the smile in his voice. What else? He moved her hand to the bark. Rough, alive. It reminds me of the old oak tree in my childhood garden where I used to practice my positions. As the morning progressed, Marcus guided her through each texture, each sensation awakening memories she'd buried. When her fingers touched the silk petals, tears began to fall. The costume for Giselle, she whispered. White silk that felt like clouds. I was supposed to debut that role the week after my accident. Marcus didn't offer empty consolations. Dead, he moved closer, his presence solid and comforting. Tell me about dancing, he said. Not the loss, but the joy. Emma found herself, describing the feeling of flying across the stage, of music flowing through her body like water, of the moment when technique dissolved into pure expression. As she spoke, Marcus began working with her legs, his hands moving with professional skill, yet infinite tenderness. I can't feel that, Emma said as his hands worked along her calves. Not yet, Marcus agreed. But your nervous system remembers. Sometimes we have to teach it to trust again. Their eyes met, and Emma felt heat bloom in her cheeks. There was something intensely intimate about his touch, about the way he looked at her as if she were whole, beautiful, worthy of this careful attention. Why are you helping me? She asked suddenly. Marcus's hand stilled on her leg. Because I see you, he said simply. Not your limitations, not your past, not your fear. I see Emma, the woman who dances even when she can't move, who fights even when she wants to surrender. The air between them crackled with unspoken feelings. Emma felt herself leaning toward him, drawn by something deeper than gratitude or hope. When Marcus reached up to brush a tear from her cheek, his thumb lingering against her skin, she didn't pull away. Marcus, she whispered, his name a prayer on her lips. He seemed to catch himself. Professional boundaries reasserting themselves. We should continue with the therapy, he said, but his voice was rougher now. Affected the afternoon brought new exercises. Marcus had her working with clay, shaping it with her hands while he supported her arms. Their bodies were close, his chest against her back as he guided her movements. Emma could feel his breath on her neck, could sense the careful control he maintained. Like this? She asked, pressing back slightly against him. Perfect, he breathed, and she felt him tense behind her. When the clay sculpture, a rough but recognizable, bird in flight was complete, Emma turned in her chair to face him. They were inches apart, his hands still covering hers. Emma, Marcus said, his voice a warning and a plea. I know this is complicated, she whispered. I know you're my doctor, my healer, but I also know what I feel. For a moment, she thought he might kiss her. His eyes dropped to her lips, his body leaning closer. Then, with visible effort, he pulled back. You're vulnerable right now, he said. I won't take advantage of that. If I wasn't vulnerable, Emma challenged. If I was whole, strong, able to stand on my own 2 feet? Marcus cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones. Then I would tell you that you're the most beautiful woman I've ever met. That you make me believe in second chances. That I haven't felt this alive since before Sarah died. The confession hung between them, honest and raw. Emma reached up to cover his hands with hers, holding him to her. Then help me get there, she said. Help me stand, so I can choose you not from desperation, but from strength. The promise in his eyes was answer enough. 3 weeks into her stay at Meadowbrook Farm, Emma felt the shift beginning deep in her bones. What started as tiny sparks of sensation had grown into genuine feeling. Tonight, as moonlight streamed through her cottage window, she felt something extraordinary, the urge to move. Marcus had gone for his evening walk, a ritual she'd begun to anticipate. From her window, she could see him following the path that wound through his gardens. Pausing to check on the night-blooming jasmine that filled the air with its intoxicating perfume, Emma gripped the arms of her wheelchair and, using every ounce of strength she'd built over their weeks together, pushed herself upright. Her legs trembled, but held. For 30 seconds, then a full minute, she stood. Tears streamed down her face as she took one careful shuffling step, then another. The cottage door was only 10 feet away. It might as well have been a mile, but Emma was determined. Each step was victory and agony combined, her body relearning forgotten rhythms. When she finally reached the door and stepped outside, the cool night air kissed her skin like a blessing. Marcus was returning from his walk when he saw her. He froze, moonlight highlighting the shock and joy on his face. He breathed, dropping the wildflowers he'd been carrying. "I wanted to meet you in the garden," she said, tears and laughter mixing in her voice. "I wanted to walk to you." He was across the distance between them in seconds, catching her as her legs finally gave out. Instead of setting her back in the wheelchair, he lifted her in his arms, carrying her to the garden bench beneath the old apple tree. "How long?" he asked, his voice thick with emotion. "Just now, just tonight. I felt something calling me, something that said it was time." Emma looked up at him, seeing her own wonder reflected in his eyes. "Marcus, I think I'm really healing." He sat beside her on the bench, keeping her cradled against his chest. The position was intimate, protective, and Emma felt her heart racing, for reasons that had nothing to do with her physical exertion. "You're amazing," Marcus whispered, pressing his forehead against hers. "Absolutely incredible." In the moonlight, surrounded by the perfume of jasmine and the soft chorus of night insects, the careful boundaries they'd maintained began to dissolve. Emma's hand found the back of Marcus's neck, her fingers threading through his hair. She whispered. "We shouldn't," he said, but even as he spoke, his lips were moving closer to hers. "Why not?" Emma challenged. "I'm not your patient anymore. I'm a woman who's falling in love with the man who gave me back my life." The word love hung between them like a bridge neither could uncross. Marcus cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs tracing her cheekbones in a touch so tender it made her ache. "Emma, if we do this, there's no going back. I'm not the kind of man who loves lightly." "Good," she breathed. "Neither am I." When their lips finally met, it was with the desperation of souls recognizing their match. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, then deeper as Emma's hand tightened in his hair and Marcus's arms pulled her closer against him. They broke apart. Breathing hard, and Emma saw her own desire reflected in Marcus's eyes. "Take me inside," she whispered. Marcus carried her to his cottage, to the bedroom where firelight cast dancing shadows on the walls. He set her gently on the bed, his hands shaking slightly as they framed her face. "Are you sure?" he asked. Instead of answering with words, Emma began unbuttoning his shirt, her movements slow and deliberate. Marcus caught her hands, bringing them to his lips to kiss each palm. "I love you," he said simply. "I think I've loved you since that first day when you looked at me like I might actually be able to help." "I love you too," Emma replied. "Didn't just heal my body, Marcus. You healed my soul." Their lovemaking was gentle and passionate, a celebration of Emma's healing and their deepening connection. Marcus worshipped her body with reverent touches, showing her that she was beautiful, desired, perfect exactly as she was. When Emma arched beneath him, crying out his name, she felt more whole than she ever had, even before her accident. Afterward, they lay entwined by the firelight, Emma's head on Marcus's chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "What happens now?" she asked. Marcus's arms tightened around her. "Now, we build a life together."
"Here in this place where you learn to stand again."
"Where we both learn to love again." Emma tilted her head to look at him. "You really want that? A future with? Someone who might always need extra care, who might never fully recover." Marcus rolled them over so he was looking down at her, his eyes fierce with love and certainty. "Emma Hartwell, you are the strongest person I know. Whatever challenges come, we'll face them together. You've already proven that love can work miracles." As if to emphasize his point, Emma flexed her legs beneath the covers, marveling at the sensation. Together she agreed, pulling him down for another kiss. Outside, the night sang with possibility, and inside, two healed hearts beat as one. 2 months had passed since that moonlit night when Emma first walked into Marcus's arms. Now, autumn painted the countryside in brilliant golds and crimsons, and Emma's recovery had progressed beyond anyone's wildest dreams. She could walk confidently, though she still tired easily, and most miraculously. She had begun to dance again this morning. Marcus found her in the converted barn he'd transformed into a small studio, moving through a gentle ballet routine. Her movements were different. Now, less technically perfect, but somehow more beautiful, imbued with hard-won wisdom and appreciation for every step. "You take my breath away," Marcus said from the doorway. Emma turned, her face glowing with the exertion and joy of movement. She wore a simple leotard and flowing skirt, her hair caught up in a messy bun. To Marcus, she had never looked more radiant. "Getting stronger every day," she said, walking to him without any trace of the hesitation that had marked her early recovery. "Watch this." She demonstrated a series of turns that would have been impossible just weeks ago. Marcus applauded, his pride and love evident in every line of his face. "I have something to tell you," Emma said, her expression suddenly serious. "My father is coming tomorrow." Marcus stiffened slightly. James Hartwell had been supportive from a distance, funding Emma's stay and recovery. But this would be their first face-to-face meeting. "How do you feel about that?" "Nervous," Emma admitted. "He knows about us, about what we mean to each other, but seeing it in person will be different. He's protective, and he has very specific ideas about the kind of life he wants for me." Evening, they sat on the porch swing Marcus had built. Emma curled against his side as they watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of rose and gold. The intimacy between them had only deepened over the weeks. They made love with increasing passion and tenderness, their connection growing stronger with each shared touch, each whispered confession in the dark. "Tell me about Sarah," Emma said suddenly. She'd been wanting to ask about Marcus's late wife, needing to understand the woman who had held his heart before her. Marcus was quiet for so long, Emma thought he wouldn't answer. Then softly, he began to speak. "Sarah was a pediatric nurse. We met during my residency. She was everything I wasn't. Warm where I was clinical, patient where I was driven. She taught me that healing was about more than technique." His voice grew rough. "When she got sick, I became obsessed with saving her. I tried every treatment, every experimental therapy. I forgot to just be her husband, to just love her." Emma's hand found his, intertwining their fingers. "Oh, she would want you to be happy, Marcus? She would want you to love again?" "I know," he said, turning to kiss her temple. "I think she would have loved you. You both have that same strength, that ability to find light in darkness." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of a car on the gravel drive. Emma's father had arrived a day early. James Hartwell emerged from his luxury sedan like a man accustomed to command. Tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed even after the long drive, he surveyed the farm with shrewd eyes. When he saw Emma and Marcus on the porch, his expression was unreadable. "Daddy," Emma said, rising to greet him. The ease with which she moved drew a sharp intake of breath from her father. "Emma, you look... ... James's voice broke slightly. "You look like yourself again." She walked down the porch steps and into his embrace. And Marcus saw the moment when James felt his daughter's strength, her stability. The older man's eyes filled with tears. "Dr. Reed," James said, extending his hand to Marcus. "I owe you a debt I can never repay." "You owe me nothing," Marcus replied. "Ma did the hard work. I just provided the space for healing." Over dinner, prepared by Marcus in his simple but comfortable kitchen, the three talked. James questioned Marcus about his methods, his background, his intentions. Marcus answered honestly, holding nothing back about his past, his feelings for Emma, or his hopes for their future. "You love her," James said. It wasn't a question. "More than my own life," Marcus replied without hesitation. "And you, Emma?" "This isn't gratitude speaking." Emma reached for Marcus's hand across the table. "Daddy, I've loved before. I know the difference between gratitude and love, between dependence and partnership. Marcus doesn't complete me. I was already whole. He enhances me. He makes me want to be the best version of myself." Later that night, after James had retired to the guest room, Emma and Marcus lay in bed talking quietly. I think he approves, Emma whispered, tracing patterns on Marcus's bare chest. He loves you. He wants to make sure you're protected, cherished. I understand that. Marcus captured her wandering hand, bringing it to his lips. Emma, there's something I need to ask. You. The serious tone in his voice made her prop herself up on her elbow to look at him fully. What is it? Marcus reached into the nightstand drawer and withdrew a small velvet box. Emma's breath caught as he opened it, revealing a simple but elegant ring, a perfect diamond, surrounded by smaller stones that caught the moonlight like stars. I know it's soon, Marcus said, his voice rough with emotion. I know we're still figuring things out. But Emma, I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me? Emma's answer was wordless at first, expressed in the kiss she pressed to his lips, in the tears that streamed down her cheeks, in the way she held him, as if she never wanted to let go. Yes, she finally whispered. Yes, yes, 1,000 times. Yes. When they made love that night, it was with a new depth of commitment, a promise of forever in every touch, every whispered endearment, every moment of perfect connection. Tomorrow, they would share their news with her father. Tomorrow they would begin planning a future that once seemed impossible. Tonight they celebrated the miracle of love, of healing, of two broken souls becoming beautifully whole together. Spring had returned to Meadowbrook Farm, bringing with it the scent of apple blossoms and the promise of new beginnings. Today was Emma and Marcus's wedding day, and the farm had been transformed into something magical. White silk draped from the apple trees, wild flowers filled mason jars on rustic wooden tables, and a dance floor had been laid beneath the open sky. Emma stood in the cottage that had become her home. Looking at herself in the antique mirror Marcus had found at a flea market. Her wedding dress was simple but elegant. Flowing silk that moved like water around her newly strong legs. Her hair was adorned with the jasmine that had witnessed their first kiss, and around her neck hung Sarah's pearl necklace, a blessing. From Marcus's past to their future. You're radiant, said Dr. Patricia Wells, the physical therapist who had become Emma's friend and confidant during the final months of her recovery. I've never seen a bride glow quite like this. Emma smiled, feeling the truth of those words in her bones. She wasn't just marrying the man she loved. She was celebrating her complete return to life, to movement, to joy. A soft knock at the door announced her father's arrival. James entered wearing his formal suit, but with tears already gathering in his eyes. Are you ready, sweetheart? Die. Never been more ready for anything in my life, Emma replied, taking his offered arm. The ceremony was held in the garden where Emma had first learned to hope again. As she walked down the petal-strewn aisle, she saw Marcus waiting for her beneath an arch of roses and apple blossoms. He wore a simple black suit, but his eyes held such love and wonder that Emma felt her own tears beginning. When she reached him, Marcus took her hands in his, and Emma felt the same electric connection that had sparked between them from their very first meeting. Dearly beloved, began the minister, but Emma barely heard the traditional words. She was lost in Marcus's eyes, remembering their journey together, the first tentative touches, the breakthrough moments, the nights of passion and healing, the quiet mornings when she'd wake in his arms feeling grateful for every breath. Emma, Marcus said when it came time for their personal vows, you taught me that healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about finding beauty in the cracks, strength in the scars, and hope in the impossible. You didn't just walk back into my life. You danced into it, bringing light to every corner of my world. Emma's voice was steady and strong as she replied, Marcus, you showed me that love isn't about being perfect. It's about being seen, being cherished, being supported through every stumble, and celebrated for every step forward. You gave me back more than my ability to walk. You gave me back my ability to dream. When they kissed as husband and wife, the small gathering of friends and family erupted in cheers and applause. Emma felt Marcus's smile against her lips and knew that this was just the beginning of their beautiful story. The reception was intimate and joyful. Emma's old dance company had sent a video message of congratulations that played on Marcus's laptop, and several of her former colleagues had traveled to be there in person. The highlight came when the band struck up a waltz, and Marcus led Emma onto the dance floor. "I'm not much of a dancer," he whispered as they began to move together. "Just follow my lead," Emma replied with a smile that lit up her entire face. They moved together with surprising grace, Emma's trained body guiding them both through the steps she knew by heart. As other couples joined them, Emma caught sight of her father dancing with Dr. Wells, both of them beaming with happiness. "Look," Marcus murmured against her ear. Emma followed his gaze to see Tom, the elderly farmhand who had become like family to them both, dancing with surprising elegance with the baker from the village who had made their wedding cake. "Love is everywhere," Emma said softly. "It always was," Marcus replied. "We just had to learn to see it again." As the evening progressed, Emma surprised everyone by performing a short dance solo, a piece she had choreographed herself during her recovery. It told the story of falling, breaking, healing, and rising again. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience as she finished with a leap that would have been impossible a year ago. "That was for you," she said to Marcus as she returned to his arms. "For us, for everyone who believed in impossible things." Later, as they were preparing to leave for their brief honeymoon at a cottage by the sea, Emma's father pulled Marcus's aside. "I want to thank you," James said. "Not just for healing her body, but for healing her spirit. I haven't seen her this happy since she was a child." "She healed me too," Marcus replied, "more than she'll ever know." As Emma and Marcus drove away from the farm under a canopy of stars, Emma reached over to take her husband's hand. "So what now, Dr. Reed?" she asked playfully. Marcus lifted their joined hands to his lips, kissing her wedding ring. "Now we live, Mrs. Reed. We heal others, we dance together, we grow old, loving each other more every day." Emma smiled, feeling the truth of those words settle into her bones alongside the strength and grace she had fought so hard to reclaim. "I love the sound of that." They drove into their future hand in hand, two souls who had found each other in the darkness and chosen to create light together. Behind them, Meadowbrook Farm slept peacefully under the watchful stars, ready to welcome other broken hearts in need of healing, other impossible dreams waiting to come true. The miracle wasn't just that Emma could walk again, or dance again, or love again. The miracle was in the ordinary magic of two people choosing each other, choosing hope, choosing to believe that even the most shattered dreams could be rebuilt into something even more beautiful than before and in the years to come. As Emma established her own dance therapy program at the farm, and Marcus expanded his practice to help others find healing through connection to the earth, they would discover that their greatest miracle was yet to come, the family they would build together, the lives they would touch, and the love that would continue to grow stronger with each passing day. Their story became legend in the small farming community. Proof that sometimes the most extraordinary healing happens not in sterile hospitals or high-tech facilities, but in the simple magic of two hearts recognizing their perfect match and choosing to dance through life together, step by beautiful step.